The next piece that we're going to look at is factoring trinomials with a lead coefficient that is not 1. The process that we'll use is we end up converting it to 4 terms, and we use factoring by grouping. It's also called the AC method. So I'll show you how that works. So notice we have our trinomial 2y squared, so our lead coefficient, or our A, is not 1, plus 5y plus 2. So it's called the AC method. So the first thing we do is multiply A times C. I'm going to kind of combine that with step 2 and create a t-chart. So what multiplies to 2 times 2, remember C is our constant, so now we're looking at what numbers multiply to 4 and add to 5, our B term. Well, 2 times 2 equals 4, those are numbers that jump out at me, but 2 plus 2 is not 5. The only other numbers that multiply to 4 are 1 and 4. Once you find these numbers, it's not as straightforward as factoring the trinomial with the lead coefficient of 1. We don't just throw these into the binomial and call it good. We have to factor by grouping. So once we find the pairs of numbers that work, or the pair of numbers that work, we rewrite that middle term, our B term, as a sum using those two numbers. 1 plus 4 gives us 5, so we're going to rewrite our trinomial as 2y squared plus 1y, or y, plus 4y plus 2. So now we've created a quadnomial, or a polynomial with 4 terms, and we can factor by grouping, which is our last step. Since we learned how to factor by grouping, we remember split it into 2, and we find the GCF of each pair of terms. So looking at 2y squared plus y, our GCF is y. Dividing that out of each term, or factoring it, we get 2y plus 1. Remember, we're dividing it. So y divided by y leaves us with a 1. For our second set of terms, our GCF is 2. 4y divided by 2 is 2y, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now we have 2 terms instead of 4 terms. Here is our first term, and this is our second term. So when we look at these 2 terms, they have a common factor of 2y plus 1. When I divide that out of my first group, I'm left with a y. And when I divide that out of my second group, I've got a plus 2. So again, just to check our work on this one quickly to show you that it does equal what we started with, you can always check your work on factoring and know that you did it right. 2y times y equals 2y squared. 2y times 2 gives us a plus 4y. 1 times y is 1y, or y. And 1 times 2 gives us a 2. Simplifying our middle terms, we have 2y squared plus 5y plus 2, which equals what we started with. Alright, step 1, multiply A times C. I'm going to combine that with step 2, create that t-chart. A times C. 4 times negative 15 is negative 60. And our B term is 4. So we're looking at 2 numbers that multiply to negative 60 and add to 4. So we know that they need to be 1 positive, 1 negative in order to multiply to a negative. And to add to a positive, the larger number needs to be positive. Well, 10 times 6 jumps out at me right away. So 10 times negative 6. And 10 plus negative 6 does equal 4. So then we rewrite our B term as a sum of the 10 and 6. So we get 4x squared plus 10x minus 6x minus 15. Now it does not matter which order you rewrite those terms in. I could have done negative 6x plus 10x, and this will still work, because remember, you can add in any order. And then we'll factor by grouping. So my first 2 terms have a common factor of 2x. Dividing that out of the first term, I have 2x. Dividing it out of the second term, I have 5. And then for my second 2 terms, I notice that they're both negative. So I'm actually going to factor out, sorry, I shouldn't have done a parenthesis yet. I'm going to factor out a negative in order to get what's left over to be positive to match my first term. They both have a common factor of 3, so I'm going to factor out a negative 3. 6x divided by negative 3 is 2x. And negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. All right, and again, as a reminder, we've got two terms now. Here's term 1, and here's term 2. So the common factor is 2x plus 5. When I cancel that out of the first term, I'm left with 2x. Cancel it out of the second term, I've got a negative 3. And your U-try problems.